set my scribers at 5/8. Then I'm going to scribe a line along the edge of the sheet. Then I'm going to saw this out with my jeweler's saw. And just go along the sheet. This is going to be the first piece in the band. And I get it sawed out. Then I'm going to file it with a triangular file to straighten up the edges a little bit. You just want to get it real straight on the edges so when you mark your pattern, everything's right. Now this is the pattern. The narrow part's the back of the band and the wide part's going to be the top of the ring. And I just put that on this piece we cut out and I scribe a line on it. I'm going to cut this out with my jeweler's saw also. And once we get it cut out, we do the same thing. We take a triangular file and we're going to file it a little bit, get it straightened up, get the bumps out of it. And there's a bump here that I'm going to take out with a heatless wheel. The heatless wheel does a good job of taking out any big rough spots so you don't have to file so much. And that will get it nice and smooth. It's right here on the side here. I kind of left a little bump there. You can see it. And that heatless wheel will knock that down real quick. Now I put it on the fire brick for annealing it. And I just anneal it. When it turns a dull pink, that's properly annealed, and then I quench it in water. And this is just so it will bend easier. We'll clean it up with some steel wool. It's a lot easier when it's flat. I sand it with some 400 grit sandpaper. And then I take a Pepetools ring bender, and I'll put the model number in the description. And I take the right proper mandrel. This one's going to be a size 11 ring. And I bend it. It's not going to come all the way together at the top. It's going to have a wide top. And this makes easy work of bending a ring. Just work it and turn it back and forth until I get it the right shape like I want it. These ring benders are very handy. The Delrin dies make non-scratch work of it. There we go. It's going to have a wide top. Just finish it up and turn it in just a little bit at the top. Just about like that. Now I take a size 11 ring size and just check it with the ring to make sure the bend's about right. And I take my dividers and I scribe 4 equal distances off of the 4 corners. I'm going to notch this because I'm going to turn these edges in just a little bit to make the top curved. And that's where they're going to, these notches or these scribe marks are where I'm going to make some little cuts with my jeweler's saw. Just so they will bend easier when I bend them in. It don't take much, probably a 1/16 of a cut. It's a little difficult to hold when you're doing this, but you can get it done. Just a little notch like that on all 4 corners. Then I take my brass jaw pliers and I just bend in the corners in a little bit. So we're going to make a good rounded top. I'm sorry for the camera angle here. It's a little high. That notch in there makes it bending just a little bit easier. And that'll fill in with the solder when we get this all done. Then I'll put it down on some 14 gauge, and I'm going to mark around the top of this and the shoulders, and that will give me the pattern to cut out the top for the ring. And here I am cutting it out with my jeweler's saw. Once I get it cut out, I'm going to file it a little bit to make sure it fits on the inside of this wide part of the top of the ring. It needs to go down just right on the inside of it. And then I flux it all up, and I use 65% solder chips, and I solder the top down onto the ring. And I just heat it up until it turns clear, and then I will add the solder chips. Okay, I got it soldered down. I just file and sand it a bit to blend it all together. It's not near finished at this point, but I just want to keep it clean and know what I've got going there. And that's a view of it there. Now, I took some 16 gauge sterling, and I took a size 11 ring sizer, and I marked a circle on the 16 gauge. Then I lie the ring down on that circle, and I mark the side pieces. And on the side pieces, it's best along the bottom of the side piece towards where the finger's going to go, to leave it long so you can file it back to get it to the exact size you need. So I'm going to mark out 2 of these sides in this manner, and I'm going to cut them out with my scroll saw. And these will solder up right into the side of the ring to close the sides up. And you can see the shadow of the top there a little better than the top itself. And this is how they fit. And that part on the bottom there that goes down towards the finger, I leave that a little bit long, like I said, and I can always file that upwards to hit the right size. Now I've got it laying down on the brick. I'm using 56% solder onto the inside of this piece. You can use 65% if you'd like. Anyway, I put my solder chips right down onto the inside and let it draw through. And that will solder the sides of the ring together. And here it is all soldered up. There's a lot of cleanup to do on it, but we're moving along. I drop it in some 25% muriatic acid. That's what I usually clean stuff with. Followed up by some baking soda solution. Now, I scribed the size of the ring onto the side of the ring here, and I just trimmed it out a little bit, and then I check it on my mandrel. Now I'm going over the mark I put on it to make it the size 11 I need. I trimmed it up a little bit with my scroll saw, and then I went back with a filer or a grinding stone. Now I'm checking it for the size 11 on the mandrel. That's real important. Now I'm putting it down on some 16 gauge, and I'm going to mark another top for it. And this top's going to have a hollow center, and that's going to form the recess once it's soldered down on top of the ring for the inlay to go in. I cut the inside out, and then I cut along the outside, and that just makes a round border that going to solder down on top of the ring. Now I'm cutting out a cross. This is 22 gauge 14 karat gold. This is going to go in the middle of the center recess, and I'm fluxing it up. I'm going to solder it down to a 22 gauge sterling sheet. That will make it the thickness of the recess. Instead of being 14 karat all the way down, I solder it onto 22 gauge underneath it, because the 14 karat gold will be on top with the inlay. Here I am soldering that border top on top of the existing top of the ring. That gives it the recess for the inlay and the cross to go in. Once I get that done, I go back on the cross and I cut it out. And the 14 karat soldered down onto the 22 gauge sterling, and I'm just cutting it out. And then I'm going to file the cross to make it smooth. And I also have to check it to make sure it will fit down inside the recess of the ring. If not, I'll file it a little bit more. Once I get it fitted, then I go back and I take a rough sander and I go over the pocket and I roughen it up real good so the inlay will stick real nice. Now here I am measuring to make sure I get the cross centered up in the top. Once I get it centered, I just hold it in place, and I tinned this with 430-degree solder. And then when the solder flows, then I know it's soldered down. 430 is fine on this because the glue is going to be all around it. And then here I am cleaning it up. I just want to go over it and polish it up real good while I don't have inlay in it. Now I put it into my ring holder, and I'm going to engrave the sides and the front edge and bottom, or the back edge, with some scroll work. Now I'm going to put the pieces of crushed turquoise down into the inlay pocket, and I just fit them in here like the way I want. This is crushed Kingman. I'm going to use 330 epoxy. I put that in with the turquoise to hold it in place. Here's a view of the inlay put into place. The glue's unsanded at this point, and I let it dry for 24 hours. Once that's done, I take a 80 mic sanding disc and I sand it down flush with the top. And here's a picture of it sanded down. And then I'm going to take 600, 800, 1500, 2000 different grits, and I'm going to hand sand this until it's all slicked off and glossy. I don't use a buffer on this epoxy inlay because in the past it's heated it up and drug it out. So I just hand sand everything when I'm dealing with this kind of inlay. The 1500 and 2000 really shines it up. There's what it looks like. I'm going to go over it with steel wool and a polishing cloth, and we'll be ready to go with this. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I hope it helped you on this. So, like and subscribe.